All right.
So some of our...
That's the data. So give yourselves a hand. Who was meaner, me or Susie? Neither. I love it. Thank you. All right, stipends.
All right. So we've heard a lot about the data and kind of, we just saw those slides on recruitment and class size. We know that when a class is full, it's easier on salaries and just the different organizations. Keep in mind that you should be talking to your partners about what is a full class for us. Is it 6? Is it 8? Is it 10? What is that? And then work toward it. Because some of you might think, well, 6 isn't so bad. Like, I'd like to have 6. But if your class size is based fiscally on 10, then you've got a lot of work to do. So in terms of one of the things that teams are looking at is stipends. And some of teams are looking at stipends versus pay. Please know that our philosophy is way more towards stipends than it is towards pay.
We don't support pay, actually. So we're pretty clear. We will support a stipend, but here, and we've got a great sign. Why is this philosophy important? That when we take interns into businesses, those businesses are looking at these interns. They're looking at us. They're trying to make a decision whether it's worth their interest to begin to hire more people with disabilities. If we ask that business to pay interns, and yet the intern in Project Search isn't meeting productivity and quality standards, and they're not because they're learning. We don't expect them to meet productivity and quality standards. It's a learning year. But that is really confusing to the business because they're doing their job. And when they see an intern in a program that's paying a wage or a salary, it can create bad feelings among the mentors and the employers. It sets low expectations because then you hear people say, I don't want to hire a person with a disability. They get paid, but they only do half the job. Well, it's because our interns are learning. They're not workers yet. It creates that mascot mentality. Well, every person with a disability has to get paid because they have a disability. Says who? We set them up to look less than when we do some of this stuff. Oh my gosh. University of Cincinnati is calling.
Are you going back for your doctorate?
No, I'm not. It also creates this attitude of learned helplessness. And it feeds in to stereotypical behavior and beliefs on part of the business. We do not support a wage. We are very happy. I am being bad cop right now. I know I am. We are very happy to support a stipend, which is really different.
Also, just think about it. How many of you can show your hands if you want, got paid to go to high school? No, I'm serious. I don't see one hand. How many of you got paid to go to college? How many of you are still paying off college loans? There you go. So come on. Like, now you might have gotten, I had a job in college so I could not have student loans, but that isn't typical. None of us get paid to go to high school, and most of us don't get paid to go to college.
So we have a range of stipends. We have 9 states that currently pay stipends, and we have 3 more on a path of paying stipends. They range anywhere from $197 a month to $600 for an internship. They're used for things like transportation, paying for your own bus ride, buying your lunch. So it's also a really good thing to build into your curriculum and talk about wants versus needs. So we actually really like stipends. A lot of states, VR still has pre-ETS money or money in other budgets left over, and they're coming to us and asking to pay stipends because otherwise they may give money back. So if you're looking at a great recruitment tool, we would encourage you to consider stipends. Do we want you to consider paid wage? No, we don't. Okay.
And there is going to be a great session on that. Holly's doing it Friday morning, I believe.
Yeah,
Yes.
a really good.
What? Thursday.
So Holly and Carly are doing a session on, or somebody, Holly and somebody, Holly.
Just Holly.
Is doing a great session on stipends. Lots of great information. If you want to know more about it and you want specifics, go to that session. I want to talk a little bit about Anna. I don't think she's in the room yet. I think sometimes people, we're part of a department at Children's Hospital in Cincinnati, and people think all we do is project search. But the reality is we have 4 kind of lines of service. And one thing we do, we run a clinic for young people 14 and older with disabilities who are transitioning to adulthood. We help them get linked to services. We help them get their GED. We make referrals for driver's license. We do any number of things. And we see about 350 young people a year. It is a great service. And the 2 people who run our team have been out at registration all week. If you want to hear more about that, and if you're in a hospital, how you could partner with your hospital and be part of a transition service, Wendy and Jenny would love to talk to you. The other thing we do is we do follow along. So we have 3 people who provide the follow along for all the folks we have hired, all the graduates of Project Search. And they're their own team. And right now, we have 82 graduates of Project Search who are working at Cincinnati Children's Hospital. And I don't know if there's another program. Yeah, I'm really proud of that. I think during COVID, almost all of them were in critical positions. And so we have great jobs, and we have 3 people who support them. If you want to hear about that, you want to learn more about what our team at Children's does to work with those 80, to keep them employed. We have folks who've been employed 25 years. We have one woman who's been employed 27 years. If you want to know about that, Anna's going to be doing this session called Follow Along Success in Employment. Let's talk about our model.
So Aaron and I spent a lot of time this spring just kind of thinking about this talk and talking about what really is our philosophy about Project Search. And you keep hearing us say good, better, best. So how can we get towards that good, better, best mentality for us, but for all of our teams too? So first thing is set a goal. Assess your performance. Think about all this data that we just talked about, and where do you fall in that continuum with class size, with outcomes, with jobs, with wage, all of those kind of things. And then set a goal and track your performance. How are you doing towards that goal? Some of our sites are doing annual audits, annual Model Fidelity audits. It's a great way. You can do that with your program specialist if you have a statewide contract. You can also do it as a team and just think about where are we as a team, and and maybe not tackle everything, but what can we do to get better?
The model's a template for you. It's not the Bible of Project Search. And the way we look at this is that it is guidelines that we're all working toward. We don't have, and you saw this in the data, we don't have a single perfect program. Our program at Cincinnati Children's is not a perfect program, and we're there all the time. So we're not looking for perfect. If you are striving for perfect, it probably means you're losing creativity, you're getting too rigid, you're writing policies and trying to enforce perfection. Perfection cannot be enforced. It doesn't work that way. If you're working toward that, you are stifling creativity in your team. And I think sometimes that's what we tend to do. The truth about Project Search and what we want, and this is my last one, I'm skipping, I'm sorry about that.
Oh, I was going to say something about that middle one.
Is that if you're at good, next year we'd like you to be better. If you're at better, next year we'd like to be even better, or the best in your state. We don't expect any of you to be perfect. That is an unrealistic expectation. And so don't beat yourself up. That's counterproductive. The thing is, pick a goal and work toward it. Be flexible.
So I do want to talk about that middle one, about your partners. If you're the school, it's not just a school program. If you're the host business, it's not just a host business program, right? It's all of you together. And how can you use your gifts and talents to make it the best possible? What's great about your host business? What's great about your school district? What's great about your CRP? What's great about your VR counselors? How can you bring all those elements together and bring it the best? Your host business probably has some rules about you can only do this or that. Your school district might be dictating some certain things. But take all of those gifts and treasures and bring those together so that you can be the best in outcomes, in internships, in skills learned, in all of the things that influence our intern success.
So everything I said about flexibility and creativity, you still have to talk to your program specialist. So we don't want you doing something that's so wildly different that no one would recognize it as being part of Project Search. But that's why you have a program specialist working in your state. And I think what we say is that when it's obvious, if you set a goal and it's obvious that your goal cannot be reached, don't change the goal. Adjust the actions you're taking to reach that goal. I think sometimes what we do, we think we're not going to meet it, and so we change it and work on something else. If it was a good goal, keep it. Work to be better. You know, yesterday in that business liaison meeting, that was a great group, and I loved a lot of what I heard, and I think there's a woman in the room. I hope she's here, and we learn stuff every single day from you, and we incorporate it into our program, and we make it better. And one of the business liaisons was sharing that at her business, they do a debrief with managers and mentors after every internship. And I may have misunderstood it, but it doesn't have to include the intern. It doesn't have to include the teacher, because it can be the business liaison talking to the manager mentor, because they have to be allowed to be honest. And otherwise, we can't walk them forward in the process. So one of the things we're going to be looking at this year is what kind of debrief can we do? How can we create a system that helps us do better with managers and mentors?
Some people are doing that like at the end of each internship before the next one to ask the department, what did you learn about that student going forward into the next internship so that he or she can be even more successful?
Is the woman here today? She's in a different session already. Thank you.
All right, so think about this. How many of you in the audience are going into your very first year?
A lot of you.
Awesome. Okay. So you don't have to do everything in the Project Search book or in the Project Search manual or everything that you heard from Carly and Holly in, you know, when you did your virtual training. So
in the first year.
Eventually, yes, we want you to incorporate those things. But maybe you're not going to do a business advisory committee year one. Maybe you're going to save that for year 2 or year 3. We think a signing day is really cool, and some of you have incorporated it in really neat ways, but maybe it's going to wait till year 2. You're always, always, always going to be thinking about more complex internships. You might start with one thing and then build on that some of these neat things that we talked about this morning. Maybe nobody's going to be patient care year 1, but then maybe you're going to slowly build in more patient care opportunities.
Mentor Appreciation Day. We think it's fabulous. You don't have to do it in year 1. You can read this list. The whole point to it is if you're a first-year program, or maybe even a second-year program, and you're feeling incredibly stressed and like you can't do everything we want you to, you don't have to do everything in year 1. Your focus should be on getting the right group of interns into the program, getting those first internships set up, finding mentors and managers, and having a good year, and then ending with employment. The key is, if you don't know where you're going, you're probably going to end up somewhere else. And that somewhere else is going to be someone who's unemployed. And the whole purpose of our program is employment. That's the one thing we stand for. Kathy Babuskio from Alaska, yesterday I was talking about good, better, best, and she sent me this poem. It's perfect. I think we're going to put it in, add it to Project Search lore. It's called Excellence versus Perfection. Kathy, are you in the room? Yeah, she's right there. Susie, perfection is being right. Excellence is being willing to be wrong.
Perfection is fear. Excellence is taking a risk.
Perfection is anger and frustration. Excellence is powerful.
Perfection is control. Excellence is spontaneous.
Perfection is judgment. Excellence is accepting.
Perfection is taking. Excellence is giving.
Perfection is doubt. Excellence is confidence.
Perfection is pressure. Excellence is natural.
Perfection is the destination, but excellence is the journey. And we are looking for excellence, not perfection. All right, I want to talk about changes in program status. We did these things last year, but you may not have heard them, you may have forgotten. I'm going to go through them quickly, and your program specialists will be talking about these if you're impacted. We did raise our rates last year. So a new Project Search program is going to get a one-time fee of $18,000. That's up from $16,000, which it had been for years and years. It helps us cover the increases in travel, hotels, airfare. As you all know, all those things are increasing. Your team will be in planning status once the license is signed and the invoice is paid, meaning you can't access the portal or any documents until the license is signed and paid. Your program specialist will do a short overview. Your team will attend introduction and planning, fundamentals, and you will receive a one in-person visit. If you're a replication site, that amount changed from $10,000 to $12,000. These are one-time fees. You'll be in planning status until that license is signed and the invoice is paid. What we can't do financially is have a lot of programs that say, hey, I want to be a program, I'll get you the money someday, or I'll sign the license in a couple years. We just can't do that. And so we have to make sure we've at least started those steps before we can start your program.
So a replication site, you might be wondering, well, I'd like 12,000 instead of 18. That sounds great. So a replication is most of the same partners, so same school district, same VR counselor, or at least same area, same CRP, but a new host, an additional host. So for instance, we have 2 high school programs in Knoxville. They are adding a 3rd high school program, so same school district, same CRP, same voc rehab area, new host site.
Statewide contracts. What we know is we have a lot of states. This is primarily thanks to Susie. She's really our driver of state. And Susie and Molly, I think, have done a great job of getting these statewide contracts set up. And what that means is we work with a state not just on starting a program here and a program there and a program here, but the state contracts with us to start a certain number of programs per year for a certain number of years. The cool thing is that we can often include in that more visits, more training, more phone calls. And so our states that have statewide contracts are typically our best. And Susie really is leading the push there. If you want to know about how to become a statewide contract or you want to consider it, you need to talk to Susie, and she can talk to you about this. Change in status for programs on hiatus. So these next 2 are really important. We have a lot of programs right now that have been on hiatus since COVID. And previously, if you were on hiatus, you were not paying the yearly fee of the license of $350, that license renewal. Beginning now, this fall, if you're on hiatus, you'll receive a letter, and it tells you that you must pay the annual fee of $350 if you want to continue to have access to the member portal, to materials, to trainings. If you do not pay that license fee, we will move you to closed. And then if you decide you want to take a closed program and reopen it, there will be a $5,000 fee for us to come, visit, and reopen. Does that make sense to folks? So this is really important. Change in status for closed programs who want to come back, there'll be a payment of $5,000 and you'll receive one in-person visit. You must attend all trainings and you must send a person to the conference.
So think about that, because if you've been closed for a while, that means your teacher's probably going to be new, your CRP might be new, certainly your skills trainers are probably new, so everybody needs to kind of come together. It's almost as if you're starting a new program again.